What's up, guys? Welcome to Chimmy Comics. My name is Riley.
I'm Wyatt.
And we're going to be covering JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 2.
Part dos.
I honestly did not think I would ever be doing this episode, but here we are.
I corrupted it.
So I've read Part 1.
And he talked about it on one of our casts.
Yeah, Wyatt's seen the anime, and
I read Part 2 because you told me about the Shonen app they have.
oh yeah, you can get Shōnen Jump for $2 a month.
And that gives
really
you...
good deal.
It doesn't give you the volumes, but it gives you every chapter. So you can't read it volume-wise, but you just read it by chapter. There's basically no difference.
Yeah. But yeah, I read Part 1, and I gave a brief review on it, and Wyatt kind of helped me with that, too, because he's seen the anime. But if you want to check that out, that's on one of our reading tales. I'll try to figure out which one that is and link it.
Did we do a reading tale?
I mean a cast.
Yeah, we talked about the cast.
Yeah, it was on the Chimmy Comics cast. But so Part 2 is 4 volumes. I checked these out from the library, so they have these stupid stickers on them.
Yes.
But honestly, I read Part 1 because I was curious at how ridiculous it could be, and I read Part 2 because I enjoyed it. Like, part of the way through, I was like, I'm actually having a good time right now.
Yeah, Part 1 is kind of, it's alright, but Part 2 is really good.
Don't get me wrong, I really like Part 1 a lot. And that's, like, where all the memes are. I mean, a lot of them. It was me, Dio.
You thought your first kiss would be Jojo, but it was me, Dio.
If you're at all curious about this series, I definitely recommend trying it out. And they've put it out in these nice hardcover volumes.
Yeah, they are really nice, and I love the covers.
Yeah, with
different characters on them.
See, I don't like the covers because they don't look anything like any of the characters. Like,
well, it's because they add the color to it, and they'll be wearing a specific outfit.
I'm wondering if, one, if he didn't actually draw these, or two, if they were concept art at the very beginning.
That makes more sense if they were concept art.
Yeah.
Also, Suki is saying hello to me under the table, so that's why.
But I'll go ahead and show off each volume, and yes, he has a green shirt on, so it's going to go through. But there's Volume 1, Volume 2 with Lisa.
And she has a green scarf, but it's not messing up.
3 with the homie Caesar.
Very nice, Caesar-chan.
And Volume 4 with Cars. So we'll introduce these characters as the story goes. But so Part 1, I don't want to spoil Part 1, but like basically what you need to know going in is that in Part 2, Part 1 starts off with Jonathan Joestar, and Part 2 starts off with his grandson Joseph.
Joseph Joestar, best JoJo.
They are English, and Joseph, he's like 20. He moves to America with his grandmother,
Grandma Arena.
So right quick, I'm just gonna tell you, this part gets a 9 from me because I really enjoyed it. And it's funny. It made me laugh several times.
Yeah, this is my favorite part I've gotten through so far. I love Part 2. Joseph is just such a likable protagonist.
Yeah.
And he's just fun to watch him do all the fights because he's so dang tactical.
Yeah. And he's always got a plan.
Yeah.
And my favorite thing he does is that, you're about to say blah, blah, blah. And then they say it, and then they're like, huh? Like it's a power.
One of the villains turns it back on him. He's like, next you'll say, I'll wipe that smug grin on your face. I'll wipe that smug grin on your face. Hey, that's my thing.
Yeah. But yeah, it's funny that you say that because a lot of people say that Part 3 is their favorite.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, in the like American releases, I think they branded that as the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Part 3 was the beginning, and they didn't do this.
Yeah, a lot of fans skip parts, which is bad.
Don't do that.
Don't skip parts.
Bad.
You appreciate Part 1 very much when you get to Part 3, so it's worth reading.
Yeah.
Or watching.
Okay. So this is by Hirohiko Araki.
Araki forgot.
What?
That's a meme like later on that he introduces things and they never show up again. Kind of Toriyama with Dragon Ball. So Toriyama
Yeah.
forgot? No, Araki forgot.
Araki
Kishimoto also forgets. They all are forgetful writers. Aosuke, your calls.
Yeah, it's my cat.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's just get into the story. So, like I said, part 1 kicks off in New York City, and Jojo, so his grandfather learned the power of Hamon. Well, Hamon is like
It's the power of the sun, power of life. It's basically sun power, solar powered karate.
yeah,
And you can do basically whatever Araki needs done with it. They don't explain it much.
yeah. One thing I've noticed that they can control like the flow of water, and they use water to as a conductor for their power.
If you've ever watched Naruto, it has some similarities with chakra. They can stick to different things, like you can do that with chakra, and they can walk on water, which you can do that with chakra too.
Yeah.
Basically, they send it out from their hands, but it's more like if you send it out with your full hands, it's just like a big blast. The more you can control, the smaller you send it out, and the more powerful it is. So that's
Right.
Joseph has to train in that.
I love how Caesar explains it. He calls it like a water gun.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
The smaller the hole, the bigger the pressure,
more
the more
powerful the
powerful.
stream would be. Yeah. So yeah, Jonathan, his grandfather, learned this ability from Baron Zeppeli.
Yes.
And Joseph somehow already has this innate ability.
Yeah,
Now,
he's not trained it,
Yeah.
but I mean, he knows enough to do a couple tricks.
He's already
with it.
naturally very
But
powerful.
he runs into this young black boy on the streets of New York, and he pickpockets Jojo and runs away. And then these two corrupt cops show up and are gonna beat him basically. And
This is 1938.
yeah,
by the way.
1938 New York. So that explains it. So Joseph walks up, and
I
he's
don't know, man.
Yeah. You're right.
That sounds pretty topical to me.
Sounds pretty topical. So Joseph walks up and tries to defuse the situation, but then the cop, he draws all the thugs as these really ugly dudes.
They literally look like pigs.
Yeah,
Like, no
and,
pun intended.
One of the cop puts his finger up his nose and gets a booger. He's like, "I'm gonna wipe it on you," and he does it, and Joseph just lets him, and then he's holding 2 bottles of
Literally
Coke.
a pig.
Yeah, Joseph's holding 2 bottles of Coke, and he uses his hamon to conduct into the bottles and pops the caps off like bullets, pretty much, and hits both of their trigger fingers and shoots their
Breaks
fingers
them,
off. Yeah, and that's how he beats them, and he lets Smokey keep his wallet that he pickpocketed. The black boy's name is Smokey, and he kind of just starts hanging out with Jojo from here.
Yeah, so then we cut to Mexico, and so this guy Speedwagon that Jonathan knew.
Yeah,
back in the day.
he was very good friends with Speedwagon. Was basically Caesar, how Caesar is to Joseph in this part.
He's
for
just
Jonathan.
a family friend.
Yeah.
And throughout the gap between part 1 and part 2, he has been getting rich on oil and stuff.
Yeah, he's a scientist. He basically just dedicated his life to what is called the Speedwagon Foundation. It's his company, and that is basically owned by the Joestars because he wanted to pay back the debt he owes.
Yeah.
So.
And he's been like an uncle figure to Joseph throughout his life. So
Yeah,
Speedwagon takes a trip to Mexico because his buddy Straizo calls him. And he's like, "Hey, I want you to check something out." And they get into this like Aztec temple. They go inside, and there's this like, they see like an engraving of the stone mask, which is a big key part in part 1.
Yeah, stone mask basically turn you into a vampire.
Yeah, you put it on, and I think blood has to get on it or something, and then the bones pop out and poke different parts of your brain and give you these powers. So they get inside, and there's this like giant pillar tree looking thing, and there's a body inside of it. So they think it's an engraving at first, but they look at it and inspect it more closely, and they realize he's alive, like he has a pulse and stuff. So then Straizo completely takes a turn and is like, "I'm gonna take this for myself. I'm gonna wake him up." So he wakes him up. And they have a battle with him, right? I'm kind of fuzzy on it. Did he beat them then, or did Streza do something?
Streza did something. And you missed it. There was a flashback of Jojo Joseph with Speedwagon in a plane that was getting taken over.
Yeah.
And they're holding Speedwagon at gunpoint. And Jojo's just like, hey, it's not my business. Just let me enjoy my comic. And then they call him like an idiot or something. And Joseph, he's still built, but he's supposed to be like 12 years old or something. and he beats them up and throws them out of the plane just because they called him an idiot or whatever.
Oh no, it was because he got punched in the face by one of them.
Yeah.
And he got blood on the shirt that Granny Arena
Yeah, Granny Arena gave this to me. How dare you? So Streza basically captures Speedwagon.
Yeah, let me see. Because they make you think that he's dead.
Mm-hmm.
But he takes... Yeah, okay, so he takes one of the stone masks for himself and he becomes a vampire, like Dio.
Like, Dio!
And so then he goes after Joseph, and they have this epic battle in the streets.
Joseph just whips out a Tommy gun from nowhere and blasts him up because at this point Jojo didn't know much Hamon stuff, so he had to improvise with other stuff.
And he also detonated a bunch of grenades on his back.
He hides a whole bunch of grenades on his back and
After
one on
that.
his front, and he's like, oh, you thought you could hide this on me? And he goes to throw it away. There's a string connected to that grenade to all the pins on the other, so when he throws it away, it pulls all the other pins and basically completely blows him up. And then Jojo uses his secret technique because he's still standing. He runs away!
Run away!
Run away! And everyone around is just like, this guy's insane! But that's really the sanest thing he could have done, running away from the immortal vampire. So, Streza...
He gets blown up, but he pieces himself back together,
and then
as vampires
He
do.
captures a woman and uses her as a hostage, and meets Jojo on a bridge, and they kind of finish their business. Jojo wins.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, he learns that Speedwagon is in Mexico now.
And in come the Nazis.
Yes. See, this is 1938, so the Nazis are looking into different stuff for occult stuff so they can conquer the world.
Yep.
So Major von Stroheim's SS unit has been sent to Mexico.
I love this uncomfortable scene when he's getting a shave from these women. And she cuts him, and then he makes her lick the blood off his face. And then threatens to cut her tongue off.
Yeah.
That's very Nazi.
Very Nazi. So Speedwagon is here, and basically Stroheim is using him for knowledge about this artifact. They found another man in a stone, a stone pillar man, if you will. And they're
analyzing that, and they're about to wake him up too.
Yeah, they've got him in this chamber.
Idiots.
Everything's supposed to be sealed off, and safety and everything. Safety is Nazis' number one concern.
Oh yes, I love when he shows up on this Harley.
Yeah, Joseph decided to take a Harley from New York to Mexico.
All the way to Mexico.
Yep.
Then he's like, fill her up, boys.
What'll it to be, fellas? Mustard or ketchup?
Oh, man. But they try to fight him, and he beats up these random Mexican guys.
Yeah, these bandits. And when he gets... first off, the Pillar Man awakes.
Yeah.
And he basically...
It's like, these guys, the Pillar Men, they get power by absorbing people. Like, if you were to have your arm outstretched and they reach their arm through your arm, they absorb that and you no longer have your arm.
And they are supremely intelligent. Like, he learns their language just by hearing it for a couple seconds, basically.
Oh, well, I also forgot to mention that these guys have been asleep for at least 2,000 years.
Yeah, since Rome.
Yeah, so they have never heard English.
Or German or Japanese, whatever these guys are speaking.
Whatever. But yeah, so he wakes up, and they send this other guy that they gave the vampire mask to like fight him to see like how strong this guy is.
Yeah.
He doesn't fight back at all. But when the guy tries to fight him, he swings his arms at him, and they go through him, and then he absorbs the guy.
Yeah, basically, vampires against pillarmen is not a good match. Like, vampire
it's food.
Yeah, vampires are basically food for pillarmen. So.
Like, they made these masks so they could make vampires to eat.
Yes, because that sustains them more than regular humans.
Yeah.
So, Jojo arrives after San Viento, which is what Stroheim names him. He names him after the place he was found. So he's like, in the dub, it's hilarious because he's yelling at this boisterous German dude, San Viento! He's learning! He learned how to put the gun together! Just like that. So Jojo...
he tries to sneak in by
dressing up as a woman. And of course it doesn't work. And he's like, oh, you Nazis are so smart. You saw straight through my disguise. And the one dude's just like, oh,
what are you talking about? You're all muscly.
You're bigger than my older sister. We used her to plow the fields. She was an ox. And he gets offended.
As if there's a girl out there as huge and muscular as you, idiot.
And they get mad. And Joseph is mad, so he just kicks them and they go, tacos. It's what they say when they get kicked. And so Joseph gets the idea, okay, I'll use their uniforms. And he strips both of them for one uniform. So, great tactics from Jojo.
Meanwhile, San Viento escapes into the vents.
Yeah.
Like he turns into pudding and just goes through the vents.
Pillarmen can basically alter their body.
They could do anything that is convenient for the story.
Yeah, basically. That's the kind of writer Araki is. This isn't JoJo's well put together adventure. This is JoJo's bizarre adventure.
Oh man, but JoJo does something with what are these?
Hair.
It's hair.
He uses the old ham-on hair attack, but he doesn't attack. He uses it as a barrier. So he misnamed it. And it's funny, he grabs the hair from Stroheim. He rips his hair off, and that's what becomes his hairstyle. He does have this slick back hair, but from this point on, it's sticking out, like really long, like every time he pops up.
Yeah. At first, San Viento doesn't even want to fight him. He's like, whatever. And then Jojo's like, hey, why don't you want to fight me? And these... What the heck? I forgot about these blades coming out of him. Like ribs. Mm-hmm. It's weird.
He's using his bones pretty much as weapons.
Yeah.
And basically, they learned that only the sun can really affect him.
Yeah.
So they're trying to get him out into the sun.
Yeah, and they're, I think, weak to Hamon.
Yeah, there are the...
Because it's like sun power.
Yeah. And the Pillarmen, originally, like thousands of years ago, they wiped out what it was called the Hamon tribe, which was their biggest threat.
Do the Hamon breathing!
Speedwagon, do the Hamon breathing! Take this, Hamon!
Okay, so Jojo just karate chops San Viento in half.
With Hamon.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
I mean, it works, and he, like, chains him up, too, and it's, like, trying to drag him outside, and then he grabs onto Stroheim's ankle.
Yeah, and it's...
And he's like, Jojo, cut off my leg,
he's
I
like,
can reach the door.
Do it, Jojo, do it.
What? No, I don't want to cut off your leg.
You have to do it, Jojo. And he does.
Cut off my leg. Yeah, he cuts his leg off, and they get the door open.
And then... San Viento hops into a well to protect himself because the sun will only be over it at
He
noon.
also jumps into the wound in Stroheim's
he
leg.
Jumps into Stroheim's leg to hide from the sun, and Stroheim's like, I must do it, and whips out a grenade. I'm going to die.
Yeah, he's about to blow himself
Sacrifice myself for the fatherland.
Oh, that was funny.
Yeah.
But like,
and Jojo's like, no, do it, Stroheim. We can find another way, because he's apparently very good friends with this Nazi now.
I know. I was like, wow, this guy really respects a Nazi.
Yep.
Like hardcore. But San Viento like tackles Jojo into the well because he's trying to escape the sun. But he's like, but you didn't know that it's noontime.
Yeah.
So the sun is directly above the well. And basically Sentō just crumbles into a few pieces, and he's turned into stone again, and they take him all the way to Washington, D.C.
Yeah, they put him in the Speedwagon Foundation headquarters, and he's always under UV lamps.
Yeah.
So he can never come back until Araki decides to bring back Pillar Man.
And then they discover this engraving, and there's 4 men with horns just like Sentō. So they recognize that Sentō is the one on the bottom. So obviously the other guys are probably going to be stronger. And then you find out later that Sentō was basically a child compared to the rest of them.
Yes. And so at the end here, they go to Rome, and Jojo decides to get himself some squid ink spaghetti, and it's really good. But there's this Italian dude who's just being a prick. He's just womanizing this woman. He's like, I want you to take this jewelry, and every night you take it off, think of me.
He was being overly romantic.
Yes, and Jojo is just very loudly going, oh, this is disgusting. And Caesar this dude is just like, they let anyone in here these days. And so Jojo's like...
This is Caesar, by the way.
Yeah, Jojo's gonna be like, all right, take this. And he puts ham on into his spaghetti and shoots it at him. But Caesar whips out his own pasta and throws it with ham on. And
this is the most Italian thing
Yes,
you've ever
reflects it back, and it goes into Jojo's wine glass, and he sucks the noodles out, and the wine just starts pouring everywhere, and he's like, oh, he has ham on.
Ham on. So we mentioned Baron Zeppeli earlier, but we didn't say much about him. So he was like
he was
Jonathan's master.
He was a ham on master.
And the Caesar Zeppeli is the grandson of him.
The families and all are pretty well connected in JoJo.
Yeah. So Speedwagon takes Joseph to Rome to learn from this guy, because he's like, you need to get your Hamon up to speed.
Yeah.
If we're gonna fight these guys. So he goes to learn, and they don't get along at first. Obviously.
Yeah, they're at this fountain, and Caesar again does his womanizing thing, just this random girl, and kisses her, and he basically tells Jojo, you couldn't even beat this woman, and throws her at him, and she like starts strangling him, and he's like, you put ham on into that kiss. So if you kiss someone with ham on, you can basically control them and turn them into super strong people for
and
whatever
Joseph
reason.
also says, I bet you couldn't even beat a pigeon.
Yeah, so he takes a pigeon, stuffs it full of ham on, and puts it in the woman's mouth without Caesar knowing. And he's like, your next line will be, allow me to remove this spell, signorina. And kisses her again, because he knew he would kiss her to remove the spell, or just to show off. And he does, and the pigeon shoots into his mouth and knocks him into the fountain. So they both beat up each other. And just good anime bonding.
Yeah.
So
here's a pose.
Yeah, it's JoJo. You gotta strike a pose.
These poses, they kill me. There's one where they're touching faces like this. Is at the beginning of the chapter, and I'm like, what?
So they get picked up by a Nazi. The Nazis are in Rome. They're allied with Italy, and they are investigating the Pillarmen that Jojo and Speedwagon are here to see. And they learned from Stroheim's unit that they're weak to UV, so they have all these UV lights pointed at the Pillarmen.
And it shows all 3 of them breaking out of the wall.
Yes. The first one, before he's weakened too much, he cuts apart a German soldier and uses the blood to cover the UV lamps, so it won't do him any good. And then he connects all the Germans' hands together and basically just absorbs them all. And then he releases the other 2. He wakes them up, and we now have AC/DC, WAMU, and cars.
By the way, here they are.
Yes.
So they get out. And this is also the point. Yeah, this is also the point where you find out about the red stone of Aja.
Yes.
And so this stone is what they're after, and it will let them walk into the sun with no consequences.
Yes, because that's still a weakness they have. They're weak to UV light. They can't be in the sun.
So once they get that, it's game over. So they're trying to keep that away from them.
So Jojo, Caesar, Speedwagon, and this dude named Mark, who's a German soldier, they're driving over. Mark's talking to Caesar. They're kind of bros. And Mark's like, yeah, I'm going to marry my girl when we get home. And so I knew, yeah, you're going to die. And, and he does.
Yeah, you're going to die.
Yeah, they get there, and he gets literally sliced in half. And the half of him that's still there is alive. And he's like,
weird.
He's like, oh, Caesar, I'm in so much pain. Put me out of my misery. And Caesar does it, and Caesar gets really pissed off.
Caesar tries to fight Wamu, and he does not do well at all.
Yeah, he uses his special Hamon bubble launcher.
Yeah, the bubble stuff. And this guy, Wamu has, like, blade dreads, and he just swings them around and pops the bubbles.
Yep.
I love that part.
Yep. So he basically smacks Caesar aside, but Jojo steps forward. He's gonna fight, and he whips out these little clacker ball toys, and he's like, "Oh, you taste my clacker barrage," and it doesn't really do much.
Well, he throws one and sticks it into the pillar behind him, and that's gonna be used later. But he's basically distracting him, and then what did he put Hamon into it, and then
he hides him behind his back.
Yeah.
And
cool.
And so he doesn't see it, and that's when he attacks, and he manages to land a hit on his head, and that's like the first hit anyone's ever gotten on Wamu in thousands of years.
Yeah, like ever, I think.
Yeah, and he's just like, oh my goodness, you have talent.
Yeah, and then he's like, but I don't care because I'm better than you and I'm going to kill you. And Jojo's like, well, if only I had a month to train, I could totally beat you.
He's like, What? Really?
Nani?
Nani?
Yeah.
So, and Jojo also uses...
Also, Wamu had to use his Divine Sandstorm. I'm just going to throw that out there to beat Jojo.
And that's his ultimate move.
Yeah, so, I mean, you know...
And Jojo, he does his signature technique, which is running away, and Caesar's like, this coward, but really he was leading them away so Speedwagon and Caesar would be able to escape.
And he bought it, too.
Yeah.
He chased him.
And so he uses Divine Sandstorm on him, and Jojo does his bluff with, if only I had a month to train, and they're like, okay, man, here, I am... Okay, man, I'm proposing to you, and they give him a wedding ring.
I'm proposing. He puts this ring inside of him around his aorta.
Yeah, and
and it will dissolve in
33 days. 33 days is what it says in the manga. And if it does, there's a poison inside. And the only antidote is in his nose ring. And AC/DC...
His lip ring.
Yeah. No, it was a nose ring.
No, Wamu's got a lip ring.
AC/DC has the nose ring.
Yeah, AC/DC has the...
So AC/DC pops in and is like,
he puts a ring around his throat.
He's like, you know what, Wamu? I'll get in on that action. Here you go. I also want to marry you. And gives him a wedding ring.
He even says something like, man, now what am I, a polygamist?
Yeah, that's what Jojo says.
Yeah.
You forced polygamy upon me. I think that's
There's some morbid humor for you, and they were gracious enough to give me two. Guess I'm a polygamist now, damn it.
So after this, Caesar's like, okay, we're going to need some serious training, so...
Then they go and train with
We're going to go to
Lisa.
Venice, and Caesar's master, Lisa. And
Lisa. So they go and train with her, and Caesar already knows her quite well. He's trained with her.
He's training with her, and she's impressed that Jojo is able to walk on water with no training whatsoever. And but then she's like, "You're still so weak and an amateur." And she puts this mask on him that regulates his breathing. Breathing is the most important thing for a Hamon user. And if his breathing isn't regulated, it'll suffocate him until the last moment. So he has to learn to breathe. Yep. Then the first exercise is this 24-meter tower covered in oil. Then
they get kicked into a pit and they have to climb out.
And a pit filled with dead bodies of people who failed.
Yeah.
So they have to use Hamon to stick to the oil, or part the oil so they can stick to the wall and climb out. And Caesar...
And he finds... I love this when he tries to climb with he takes his shirt off and tries to climb around it. That's what I would have thought to do too.
And a knife gets thrown and cuts it, and she try to use
do not disgrace my pillar.
Yeah, she's basically, do not disgrace my pillar. If you attempt to use any other way but Hamon, it'll fight you back.
But the ironic thing about this tower is that the less you touch it, the the better you're able to hang on to it.
Mm-hmm.
So like just climbing with your fingertips is more effective than your whole hand.
Mm-hmm. And that's so they spend days climbing this tower.
Yeah.
Caesar figures that out first, and then Jojo, from watching Caesar, is like, "Oh, that's how you do it." So he starts doing the fingertip thing and climbing. And this is very similar to in Naruto when they first start out as Genin ninja. They have to control their chakra. And to do that, one of the basic exercises is tree climbing, where they will climb a tree without using their hands, because chakra is very hard to put down in your feet. So this is, by climbing this, they're increasing their Hemon power and their control. So it's the same principle.
I wonder if they got this from Toriyama when Goku has to climb that huge tower.
I mean, that too.
This is exactly what this makes you think of.
So... yeah, they spend days doing it, and then...
Caesar gets up first.
Yeah, well, Jojo first, there's this crack, and he's like, "Oh, I can finally rest," but there's a switch in the crack, and once you pull that switch, this huge wall of oil starts jetting out, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, if we touch that, we'll get sliced in half."
Powerful enough to cut you in half.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Caesar tests it by putting a pen in there.
Yeah. But Caesar is able to like slide around it by using two Hamon techniques at the same time.
And Jojo can't do that.
Yeah. But Caesar is able to reach down and help him.
Yeah, he gets up. Jojo just like jumps around it, does some crazy thing. It was kind of hard to tell because of how the manga's drawn. Yeah. But he gets up there, and Caesar is like, "Don't worry, I got you, buddy." And then Lisa goes, "But Caesar, don't you remember? You're tired. You're exhausted as well." He's like, "Oh, I forgot."
Yeah. Oh, I forgot.
Oh, I forgot. I am exhausted.
That made me laugh so hard.
So it takes him a while to get Jojo up there, but as soon as he gets up there, he's pissed, as crazy pissed at Lisa for throwing him down there.
But then she tosses him this glass of water upside down, and he catches it, and he's like, "Oh, I'm able to hold water in this glass."
Because Caesar tells him to do that before, and he's not able to do it. But he's like, "Oh my goodness, this was actually worth it. Thank you, master."
And then I love how one of the other masters grabs the glass and then takes the glass off the water and holds it like Jello.
Yeah, with his finger. He's like, "Come, start talking good when you can do this."
Weird flex, but okay.
Yeah. So yeah, there's two instructors.
There's the training montage with the calendar days ticking down. Pretty cool. But their final challenge is to beat each master.
Yeah, they got to beat their instructors.
So Caesar gets one, and he beats him. And Jojo is about to go to another island to fight his master, but he gets there and he finds the master laying down, and I think he's dead.
Yeah, he's full dead. Like, he finds out his
Wamu's standing there.
Not Wamu, it's AC/DC.
Oh, yeah.
AC/DC
that guy
is standing there.
That's right.
And he beat his instructor by like basically rushing in before he could do anything and taking out his lungs, which is the biggest weak point for a Hamon user, because like I said, Hamon is all for breathing. So now it is.
They have an epic fight.
Yeah, Jojo versus AC/DC.
And it's like a circular arena
with spikes.
In the middle are these huge spikes. So they kind of like tiptoe on those a few times. But SCDC is not able to really do that. And every time he steps on them, it goes all the way through his feet. I'm like, ouch.
Part of his weapons, though, his blood vessels are weapons.
Yeah, that's really gross.
Yeah.
That grossed me out.
A lot of stuff would probably gross you out about this series.
Probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, he uses his blood vessels as a weapon.
And he, like, outsmarts Jojo, but Jojo outsmarts his outsmarting.
You outsmarted me, but I outsmarted your outsmarting. Trying to find the blood vessel part. There's part of it, I think. Yeah, this is the part when the vessels come out of his fingernails. That was so gross.
The Pillarmen really, all their abilities are so gross because they just morph the parts of their bodies to do this crazy stuff. But yeah, so Wamu, his power, his mode is what they call it, is wind. Car's mode is light, and AC/DC's mode is heat. So he's basically heating up his blood and using that to burn his opponent and through his blood vessels.
But basically, Jojo's able to like tie him up with that string from his hat, right? So,
and you can use fibers like that to conduct Hamon.
Yes. Yeah. And he completely destroys SCDC.
Yes.
Like he's gone.
Well.
Really?
Well, I mean, he comes back, remember, with Suzy Q.
He comes back.
Yeah, because it's just like a part of his blood vessels. Like, he controls Suzy Q, remember?
Oh, yeah, that's right. I completely blanked.
He beats
Anyway,
ACDC.
he beats him and he gets the ring and takes the antidote. And the one around his throat is gone now.
Yeah, and that gives him a little bit of a power boost.
Yeah, and then the volume ends with this, like, brain and vessels.
I thought that was his heart. That's his heart showing the remaining ring.
What? No. The ring is around his heart. This is a brain.
Oh, yeah, that's the part of ACDC that's still alive. Okay.
Yeah. It latched on. So, part 3, like Wyatt said, that brain follows Jojo into the mansion and then latches on to one of Lisa's handmaidens.
Yeah. Lisa goes to take a bath.
Yes, there's a lot of bath.
So there's some
panels.
fan service on these panels.
I mean, it ain't bad.
It ain't really. It's more in the anime, really.
I'm sure it is.
So, I love how Jojo doesn't feel like to tell anyone that, oh yeah, I fought AC/DC. He just walks in and is just like, yeah, I need to talk to Lisa, and doesn't talk to Caesar or anything. Doesn't tell anyone that the instructor is dead. Just like, yeah, I guess I'll just walk around. So he decides to peek in on Lisa in the bath.
I want to show off the colored pages too because they're
really want to show off this color page?
Sure. But yeah, it's fine. It's fine. There's nothing there. Yeah, the beginning of these volumes and some parts in the middle have
colored.
These orange colored pages. I like the purple one that's in this one. I think.
Yeah.
I thought it was this one. Maybe it wasn't this one. Oh, here's some.
Yeah, it's that bit there.
Yeah, this is cool. Some good art. Yeah.
So yeah, AC/DC has taken over Suzy Q, who is basically Lisa's assistant, made everything on the island, and she has taken the red stone of Aya, or Aha, however you say it.
I say Aja, but whatever.
Aja. And mails it. He mails it somewhere, and if it leaves Venice, basically they are screwed. And they can't kill Suzy, because, I mean, if they kill Suzy, they also kill him, but, I mean, they kill Suzy. Jojo busts in and tries to bluff. First, Caesar comes up. He's like, "What are you doing, Jojo?" And he's like, "Look in here." And and Caesar looks at it. He's like, "Oh, that's our master. What are you doing, Jojo?" And he's like, "No, look at Suzy Q. She's under control. Yeah, stuff's going down." And they bust in, and Jojo tries to bluff his way.
But SCDC tries to get the stone away using what other method would you use? The postal service.
Yeah, exactly.
You mail it.
You mail it.
So it's on a mailboat.
Yeah.
And he's trying to distract them while
because if they leave, he kills Suzy. So Jojo's like, "I don't care," and then he stops like an inch. He's like, "I'll do it." Darn it! You really aren't gonna flinch, are you? So then Caesar and Jojo realize what they have to do. They both use... Jojo uses positive Hamon, and Caesar uses negative Hamon on Suzy Q's heart. So the positive Hamon kills AC/DC, and the negative Hamon protects Suzy Q's heart from...
I feel like we're jumping a car off.
Yeah, be honest. There's... like, no charge reaches her heart. They explain it pretty well. But yeah.
But he explains everything pretty well
he does.
in the manga. Like,
They have this full, like, Look at this. They have a full graph diagram of everything going on. Because
remember,
you need it. You need it because of all the crazy stuff that...
Do you remember the part when he ties up AC/DC and he shows how the rope is tied at certain point?
The same with cars when cars tied Lisa up. Yeah.
So that when he cut it, it wouldn't cut the whole thing.
And the freaking crossbow trajectory stuff. Everyone in Jojo is a dang tactician. Like, Jojo quotes The Art of War all the time.
It is quoted at least twice in this part.
So yeah, they save Suzy Q, but now here's that pose you were talking about.
But they're touching faces, yeah.
Boom, 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 dun, 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 dun. So they go to the post office, and Jojo is like, "You mean, old man, why aren't you helping us?" And he's like, "It's the law. I'm gonna beat the crap out of you," and scares the crap out of him. And then who comes in? The instructor, Messina.
Yeah, the instructor.
He comes in and basically tells them
we know where it's going.
Yeah.
It's going to Switzerland.
Yeah, it's going to St. Moritz, Switzerland, which is not too far away. It's just across the border with Italy and Switzerland. So they
go, and apparently where they're hiding out, it used to be like a hotel.
It was where like the Winter Olympics started.
Yeah. But it's abandoned now.
Yeah. They go and they catch up to the mail train. But first, we see...
the Nazis.
No, we meet up with cars and while moving them. And these jerks drive by and almost run over a dog. But, yeah, you remember this part. But then Cars like pretty much cuts them in half with his blade.
Oh, yeah, he does.
And saves the dog. And he basically he's taking criminals and whatnot and turning them into vampires. We see that.
Mm-hmm.
And now they catch up to the train, and they're going to go, but there's these Nazis behind them, and they kind of spoil it. They spoil who the head Nazi is by titling these Stroheim's unit strikes back. You're like, I wonder who he is. So he basically says, "Oh, fancy seeing you here, Jojo." And Jojo's like, "Who are you?"
I don't even know who you are.
Yeah, he's like, I don't even know who you are. So they take the red stone from the train, the Nazis do, and basically he says, "Glad to see you all doing well, but I want to work together, so follow us." So they follow the Nazis, and they go to this room, and it does this kind of history lesson. It's September 1938, and the Nazis ramp up their genocide. They occupy Czechoslovakia and move towards World War. And now Hitler wants to lay the power of the Pillarmen and the Red Stone of Vaja. So that's why Stroheim and the SS are here.
It just lets you know that the war has begun. Well, they're making moves.
Yeah, they're making moves. So Cars, this is 5 hours later, they go to this little... hotel cottage somewhere in Switzerland, and he senses who's inside the room. He's like, there's 5 men in the room.
He freaking kills these guys through a wall with not even seeing them.
And kills all of them, just decapitates them all.
Except for one.
Yeah, one, he's like...
Because Stroheim is not a man.
Yes. Stroheim's just sitting here in this chair with the stone like a pimp.
Like a total Bond villain.
Yeah. He's just
so we meet again.
So you're Cars. You're fast. In only a few hours, you realized your friend was defeated in Venice, and that we retrieved the Red Stone, and now you're here to take it. A cruel yet impressive ambush. My subordinates all passed on without letting out a single scream. And then Cars is like, there were supposed to be 5 people in this room, yet you... I cannot sense your body temperature. Why? And he goes to cut him, but Stroheim dodges, and that's when Jojo pops in. He's like, "Hey, Nazis, I'm starving. How long are you going to keep me waiting?"
Is this the part when he, pinches off a piece of flesh and stuff?
Yes. And then we get the big reveal. Stroheim catches the blade, and he's a machine, and he's like, Jojo's like, "Stroheim!" And Stroheim's hat gets cut off to reveal him, and he has this wicked like steampunk cybernetics on his face. Because remember the last time we saw him, he blew himself up with a grenade and went everywhere. No idea how he's alive.
German engineering.
Yeah, he goes, "You utter fool! German science is the greatest in the world." That's what he says.
At one point, there's a gun that comes out of his chest. It's a chain gun.
It's a machine gun. He has a machine gun in his chest. And he's just like, "My arm is made of steel. I came back from hell, Jojo." And Jojo's like, "He's a Nazi and prideful little bastard, but I don't really hate him as a person." Yeah, just forget about all those Mexicans he killed. Yeah. We don't need to think about that. He's good now. So Cars basically goes like, "As if a machine is any match for me," and
this is the part when he goes like,
Stroheim bends his arm like backwards. It goes this way and bends like it's not supposed to.
And he peaches off a piece of flesh with 2 fingers.
Yeah, and it goes like really uber into science. He's like, his pinch strength is 1,950 kilograms centimeters squared, approximately 2 times more powerful than San Viento. You idiot! Nazi scientific ingenuity is the greatest in the world.
So, like, his
My
plan...
arm strength was made with San Viento's power in mind.
Yeah, and his plan, I guess, was to just pick
Yes.
off inch-sized pieces.
I know
off of
exactly
him
how
until
many
he
pieces
died.
to pinch you off. And basically, he's like, "Okay, now we'll do it the best way."
Okay, now.
For the Vaterland. He has a machine gun in his chest.
Yeah.
And he's like, it fires armor-piercing bullets at 600 rounds per minute. These punch through 30-centimeter iron plates.
It's actually pretty cool and action-packed in the manga, but the anime is hilarious.
It is, because it keeps cutting to Joseph, just like,
that got me.
It was.
You'd have like 10 bullets fire
It's
and
in
then
here
it cut
too,
to
because
Joseph.
look, there he is.
They did it one time.
But in the anime, they did it like 3.
They keep cutting back to him. It's the same face.
The bullets are just racing and cutting through, but it's not really doing anything to Cars. And now, after all this has happened, Caesar, Messina, and Lisa realize something's going on in the other room. And so Cars starts using his light blades and basically starts cutting all the bullets apart.
Like
And Strom,
Deadpool.
yeah, Strom's like, it can't be. The blade jutting from
These
his
are
arm is made
armor-piercing
from...
rounds.
Yeah, he's like, this is skin and bone. It should be impossible to repel the bullets. Let alone slice armor-piercing ones that are later spinning and moving. There it is, 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 there it is. The sound. I love Stroheim so much. Just this boisterous German dude. It's so ridiculous. It reminds me of Jürgen von Strangle from Very Odd Parents.
Yeah.
So he's like, Stroheim realized the secret of Cars' blade as it approached him. The blade is basically a chainsaw. It's all little blades and they're moving really fast. And and he gets cut in half. And while his machine body is funny, but it's like, I can't beat him now. With my equipment, with current man-made scientific technology, I can't beat him. And it falls apart while he's saying this. And Cars basically says San Viento, he was an immature child, nothing more than a guard dog. He was nothing compared to us. So basically, Stroheim is woefully under-equipped. They underestimated how powerful the other Pillarmen would be based on San Viento.
Mm-hmm.
So, now Jojo steps forward to fight Cars.
Yeah.
And Cars gets the redstone from Stroheim, but Jojo jumps in and the stone flies over to the edge of a cliff.
Jojo beats him.
Yeah. Jojo runs. They're both running after it, but Jojo's like, this drop is like 500 meters. I won't be able to survive that. So I've got to put on the brakes. But Cars is just like, I'm jumping off this. He's sprinting.
I'm getting that stone and I'm
getting
piecing
stone
out.
and I'm piecing out. So he does that, and Jojo like grabs onto him and uses Hamon to stick to an icicle, and then he starts like connecting icicles and forming them into a rope. And Caesar does the same thing from the top.
It's like monkeys in a barrel.
Yes.
They attach and these.
Oh yeah, before this though,
Ridiculous.
Stroheim's eye, because he's like, I'm not done yet. Activate ultraviolet ray blast. And he shoots this UV light and pokes a hole in cars.
You're having way too much fun.
I am. I love voicing Stroheim. The Nazi technology is world class. So yeah.
Yeah, let's show the icicle chain. That's funny.
Yeah, find that.
Alright, yeah, that's the best one.
And Caesar later's like, that was such a stupid plan. I just knew it was what you were gonna do, so I did it anyway.
So I did it too.
Yeah.
Only Jojo could think of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's Caesar holding him up.
So yeah, Jojo wins, and Cars is like, okay, I'll give you a day. It's inevitable that I get this stone anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, he
He's a
just
sword
walks off.
Mhm.
Like, you may have won the battle.
But you haven't won the war! So Stroheim pretty much disappears at this point.
Oh, I love this, like, wind dude. So they decide to go ahead and attack the house, or Caesar does.
Yeah, because they at
Caesar
first,
ain't no bitch.
at first they're like, let's go in. We have 4 of them, and then Jojo's like, wait a minute, we should only fight when victory is assured. They have home field advantage. They know that they're weak in the sun.
He only said that because he was scared, though. Like, Jojo was terrified of these guys.
Yeah, he was pretty scared.
But Caesar goes on, and there's this wind guy, and he's like,
it's Wamu.
what is this? Yeah, it's Wamu using his wind technique.
And so Wamu uses the wind to reflect the light off of him and turn him invisible, and that allows him to walk in the sun, but he can only do it as much as he can hold his breath, pretty much, so he can't do it for long.
So he goes and fights Wamu, and there's this epic battle between them.
Yeah, so Caesar uses
the bubble cutters.
Bubble cutters, and they miss, but they maneuver to a way they act as mirrors, and they bust a hole through the ceiling, and they're all pointed at Wamu, and the sunlight is focused on him, and he's like, I can't do anything. So Caesar's about to finish him off with Hamon, but he shadows Wamu for a split second, and that's all Wamu needs to use his Divine Sandstorm and blow Caesar away. So Caesar's out here bleeding.
Get to that. Hold on.
Yeah.
This is really, really sad.
Yeah, so Caesar uses the last of his strength to make a Hamon bubble with his... He steals the ring from Wamu that has the antidote to the one inside Jojo. And he also takes his bandana and puts it in there. And he puts it in the bubble and leaves it for Jojo. So Jojo and Lisa go in after him, and they find the bubble. And Caesar! There, it's such a tone shift because this is such a funny manga, but this is really sad.
Yeah, it is. You could feel the sadness.
Yeah, and Caesar has this such tragic backstory.
All right,
that
final book.
Yeah,
We're almost done.
Lisa tells Jojo Caesar's backstory, how he grew up without a father, and then he runs into his father finally after years, and his father basically left him to find the Pillarmen and beat them to avenge his father. And so he leaves his children all alone, and they go through poverty and bad stuff. But when Caesar finally runs into him, they're back in Rome in that tomb with the Pillarmen, and the wall here is alive. That captures people and feeds the nutrients to the Pillarmen inside. And Caesar's about to fall into it, but his dad pulls him out and falls in instead, and basically sacrifices himself and doesn't even know that's his son. Yeah. And that's when Caesar changes his entire mind. He's like, the Zappellis love their family. I cannot live without avenging the Zappellis.
Yeah. So Jojo and Lisa, they go throughout the mansion after this, and there's this guy who's like, he has a bunch of spikes on his body, and I'm like, okay, how are they gonna fight this guy? Because you can't touch him. And Lisa she grabs this scarf, and she just brushes the scarf around him, and sends him on through it, and the guy's finished. That was it.
Yeah, when it gets to Lisa's character bio, it basically says her Hamon is 3 times more powerful than Jojo's.
Yeah.
So she is the master.
That was cool. And all his spikes fall off. And
Yeah.
it just crumbles.
And I think Jojo takes his tongue. Wait, no, that's later. Yeah, this is the only manga you can say that in.
Cool. So, they get upstairs, and there's this, like, Wamu and Cars are there, but, like, the whole ceiling is covered in vampires that they recruited. And they're like, well, I guess we're gonna die now.
Mm-hmm. And then Lisa with balls of steel bluffs past. She says, if we don't return, there's a time bomb on the red stone. It'll blow up, and you'll never get it. And Cars is like, I'm not gonna call your bluff. That sounds plausible. So, what name your price? And she goes, a
one-on-one.
Yeah, a one-on-one duel. Her versus Cars, and Jojo versus Wamu. And because they still have their duel to go, because they were both promised each other a duel.
This is their place of battle.
And Wamu is
cool.
Wamu is an antagonist, but he's not a villain. Cars is a straight villain. He's evil.
Yeah.
Wamu, though, he's just a warrior. He likes to fight. That's his entire being. He doesn't do it because of a sick feeling. He just loves the thrill of battle.
So he
respects Jojo a lot.
Yeah.
They both respect each other. They're kind of friends in a way.
The way Wamu wants to battle is through a chariot race.
Yeah, yes, with not regular horses, vampire horses.
They have fangs.
They have one horse is 1 horsepower. Vampire horses are 150 horsepower each. They go 60 kilometers an hour.
They're huge too, like a Clydesdale.
Yeah.
They're really big.
And they're both good on chariots. And if each lap they go around, a new weapon is dropped into the field for one of them to get.
So they start the race.
Yes, they're like, as soon as that cloud goes past the moon, the race begins. Everyone's looking at the cloud, and Jojo's like, oh, there's rubble around my wheel. Hey, Wamu, you might want to look over here. The rubble might make starting, guys. You fool, you're not going to be able to start if you're not on your chariot. And so it begins, and Jojo's off. Wamu is having a trouble start. Jojo, while everyone was looking at the sky, moved rubble to block his wheels so he couldn't start.
Yeah.
And Wamu's like, okay, Jojo, that was pretty good.
But, like, Jojo gets to the pillar first, so he gets the weapon.
Yeah, he grabs it. It's a big hammer. And he's like, all right, I have such an advantage. And put some oil on it. I have a hammer.
Wamu gets to the pillar and freaking grabs the pillar.
They don't call him pillar men for nothing.
Jeez.
He grabs this entire stump pillar. He's like, I knew I was going to let you get the hammer. Jojo's like, whoa.
Hold on, I'm not showing it right. There's the pillar.
Yeah.
That's his weapon. It's like, I planned this all along. I knew you would grab the hammer.
So what follows is the most tactical battle in anime history. With both, because Wamu and Jojo are both tricksters and both use these crazy tactics.
Well, I mean, first off, Wamu obviously smashes the heck out of Jojo's chariot.
Yeah, and so
he has a pillar.
Jojo's on the ground, and he's going to run him down, and if Jojo dodges to the right, left, he's done. And if he stays there, he'll get mowed down by the horses.
So he runs straight at the horses.
He runs straight at the horses and takes off the reins, pretty much, to free the horses and get him off his chariot.
Mm-hmm.
Which is good, but then Wamu's like, I expected you to do that.
You may have outsmarted me, but I outsmarted your outsmarting. So they start fighting for real now, and he uses his divine sandstorm on him.
And everyone thinks that Jojo's dead, and Cars is like, well, that's that. Well, Lisa, I guess I don't really care about fighting you. Here, take this poison and kill yourself. It'll be more peaceful that way. And she's like, oh, you really don't realize the Wamu and Jojo's match is not over. And they look at Wamu, and his arms are bleeding, and his face, he's just like...
He doesn't look very comfortable.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
He's not moving.
What could it be? Jojo
He grabbed the reins with his toes,
Yes.
tied them around his arms,
and
sent him on through the reins, I think.
yeah,
And, well, it doesn't really show it.
he blocked the divine sandstorm that way.
Oh,
He
gotcha.
he threw the divine sandstorm back at him.
Okay. And then the next time is like crossbows.
Yeah, there's two
One's
crossbows.
really huge
Yeah.
and one's regular. And Jojo, of course, grabs the large one.
But the problem is it's so large he can't pull it back. So, and even though Wamu's sitting here not saying or moving or doing anything on his chariot, he's just sitting there. Like,
And it says the peak athletes have a way to turn the switch on when they're down and it matters. They will come back and win.
Yeah.
And it says Wamu switch is poking out his own eyes. I'm like, what? And then that stupid unicorn horn comes out of his forehead, and that's how he senses.
he senses
where
the
people
wind,
are, yeah.
and that's how he sees. Basically, he's like, I see more than I ever could with my eyes.
Look at this panel.
Yeah, show it. Fabulous.
I love that
Absolutely
panel.
fabulous. So, Cars is like, now Wamu has no psychological weaknesses at all.
Oh my gosh! But he gets a shot on Jojo, but it like kind of grazes him and probably breaks a rib or something.
Yeah, it hits some organs.
And then Jojo falls, but then as he falls, the crossbow hits the ground and pulls itself back.
Yeah, because that works. At first, I thought that the bolt that hit him, hit the string, and that's what caused it to cock back. But I don't know. It probably was just bullshit.
And Jojo is able to like shoot it around the curve.
Yeah, he
And the
shoots
track.
and misses at first, is what you think, because Wamu is like marching on him, and he was laying there pretending to be down, but he pops up, and he's like, "Oh, it looks like you
shoots.
wasted your shot."
It comes around and then goes through his chest.
Yeah,
So he did.
yeah. Well, at first he uses
He cuts off his own arms and uses them to choke Jojo.
Yeah. Like, he shoots them out of his own the hole in his chest.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that reminds me of Stroheim's chest gun.
Yeah. So he starts using his final mode, and this is going to kill him. It basically uses friction and the air movement from this hole in his chest to make heat, and he's basically going to burn Jojo up. But doing so will kill him as well. So he's going to try and take Jojo with him. But Jojo has this firebomb on him, luckily. And he tosses it, misses, and then he uses his Caesar's bandana and throws it at him. And it catches on fire, and he attacks it, slices it in half. That causes the fire and the oil of the firebomb to get sucked up. So that sucks up inside of him and basically causes him to explode.
Yeah, this panel. Splat.
Yeah. So Wamu was laying there dying, but since Jojo and Wamu respect each other so much, Jojo walks up and is like, "I respect you, man."
He pretty much goes.
Yeah,
and kills him.
he's like, "Take some of my blood, so it's not too painful." And he's like, "Are you pitying me?" "No,
I respect you.
I respect you." And he's like, "Oh, I get you, Jojo." And Jojo salutes him as he dies.
So now, Cars and Lisa are supposed to fight, and at first he's like, "Okay, we're gonna do it Wamu's way in his honor." I'm gonna
And
agree to it.
Lisa is basically just like, I don't sense any bloodlust from him at all.
Yeah, and so they fight, but then he sneaks in a blade in her back. Well,
Yeah.
it turns out that the person she was fighting was a body double and not him.
Yeah. So Cars is a piece of shit who doesn't care about honor or anything. He basically completely tricked him. He's like, I really don't care. I just want the redstone. And so it doesn't matter. Like, I don't.
Yeah.
And then in the main, he while Lisa is wounded, he takes her leg and plays it like a guitar.
Meow, 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 meow.
He in the anime he mimics an electric guitar which hasn't been invented yet and plays the ending of the anime. Roundabout, which is what it's called.
Wow. And then he like takes his blade and shoves it through her feet, and then like knits up a rope through them and hangs her by her feet.
And basically, Jojo has to hold on to this rope, or he'll drop her into a whole bunch of spikes.
Yeah.
So he can't do it. And there's Stroheim.
Oh yes. Can't forget about Stroheim.
So they're surrounded by vampires. The vampire army is here.
Yeah.
And Jojo has to hold on to this rope. And basically, things aren't looking too good.
Jojo's like, well, in order to beat you, I'm going to motivate myself by lighting my scarf on fire.
And at this point, I'm just like, why not?
Oh, but what he didn't see is that Jojo was actually tying a rope and placing it so that Cars could step into it and be laced up himself.
Mm-hmm.
So he does, and now, see, he knew Cars would probably cut the rope and try to kill them both, but he attached it to Cars also, so he's holding him up.
Before this happened, Jojo did get some reinforcements. The heroes arrived. The Nazis. So Stroheim and the Speedwagon Foundation Special Forces arrived, and they all have these lamps on their shoulders, UV lamps. They're all kitted out with anti-vampire weaponry, and they basically start cutting through the vampire army in order to get to Jojo. So, Stroheim, Smokey, and Speedwagon are all here now. So yeah. And
so Jojo's able to beat Cars, and he like kicks him into those spikes at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets stabbed by those. I don't remember what this is about. I think this is when Jojo finds out that Lisa is her.
No, he doesn't find out until the end. They try to.
He's telling this kid, Smokey.
Yeah, Speedwagon is telling the story of Lisa, so we kind of find out what her backstory is. Yeah. She was the baby in part 1 that Arena saved on the sinking ship with Jonathan.
Mm-hmm.
So, and she was raised by Straitso, who was a Hamon master. So she basically learned Hamon from Straitso.
Well, unfortunately,
Straitso went really crazy.
No, I mean Cars. Like, he got the stone anyway.
Yeah, he got the stone anyway, puts it into his mask.
And he turns into, like, a sparkling skeleton.
He turns into the ultimate being.
With an IQ of 400.
Yes. It lists all of his abilities in bullcrap. Like,
and bullcrap. And then he, like, has a squirrel come out of his hand.
And the squirrel starts killing all the freaking Nazis.
That was ridiculous.
And basically, Cars has...
Take it easy.
Take it easy, boy. Cars has the ability of every animal on Earth, but it's better.
He turns into a freaking eagle and flies away.
He flies after Jojo because he hates Jojo and wants to kill him. And basically, it lists all of his senses, and sex and unnecessary.
Oh gosh.
So he has no weaknesses. There's nothing a human can do to kill him.
But Jojo
has
commandeers a plane.
He has one all or nothing gambit.
And he leads him into a volcano.
Yeah, his entire plan, run away so he can rest a little bit. Gets onto this Nazi plane and flies off and runs to a volcano because lava can kill him.
But he doesn't have a spare chute. So when he jumps out, well, who's there?
Von Stroheim!
Baron Stroheim is there. And he grabs Jojo and, like, gives him a hug, jumps out of the plane, and lands first on the ground.
Yeah.
And Jojo's okay, somehow.
He breaks his fall. Yeah, Jojo distracts Cars at first by throwing a doll with his chute out. And that's what Cars goes for at first. So Stroheim protects Jojo from that, and Cars lands in the volcano.
But he's able to get out because he has crab armor.
And bubbles. He makes bubbles, and that protects him from the heat.
Take this overdrive.
Yeah, Jojo tries to do Hamon overdrive, but Cars has Hamon now.
Oh yeah, he like obliterates Jojo's leg too.
Yeah, basically Cars' Hamon is 400 times stronger than Jojo's. There's nothing they can do. He is completely immune to everything except for the red stone of Aha. Aja.
Yeah.
So Jojo uses, apparently he finagled his way to get that for somehow, and uses that to block his Hamon. And these the volcano erupts, and these stones fly up and hit cars. And Cars basically is stuck on a rock and propelled into orbit by the volcano. and
he tries to push air out of his jets or whatever that's in his body, and he can't
because it instantly freezes. So he's stuck as stone pretty much. And he basically
and then he decided to stop thinking.
Yeah, he longs for death, but death never comes. So he decides to stop thinking
because he can do that.
He just goes to sleep for another couple thousand years until he lands again, and some other Joestar has to deal with it.
So understandably, everyone thinks Joseph is dead.
Yes.
Because he flew into a volcano.
Stroheim returns and basically says, Jojo died on the Isle. He was a good man.
And then he shows up and he goes, peekaboo.
He goes up to Grandma Arena and covers her eyes, guess who? And these guys working for the funeral service are like, what are you doing, you oaf? Don't you know these people are mourning? And they're all like, Jojo, you're alive. Smokey's reaction. Smokey is like Tanner when I shot you in Secret Hitler.
But it turns out Joseph married
Suzy Q. Yeah, he was picked up out of the ocean by Venetian fishermen, and Suzy Q nursed him back to health. And it gives this, it goes off and says what everyone does. So Lisa, and Jojo and Suzy Q move to America, and Lisa remarries a screenwriter and lives happily ever after. Granny Arena she continues to teach elementary school English until she passes away at the age of 89, surrounded by loved ones. Major Stroheim dies at the Battle of Stalingrad, a true German soldier. In the anime, it's awesome because it shows him. It shows that he's sitting there and all these machine guns and bazookas pop out of him. German science is the greatest in the world again. So he keeps getting built up. I want to see that. I bet Stroheim would develop a stand in the middle of the fight, and then he fights a Russian stand user, and to a climax. Speedwagon continues to run his company and fund the Joestars, and he passes away at 89 as well.
And Smokey went to college.
Yeah, Smokey became the first black mayor of his hometown in Georgia.
Yep. And
then Jojo is walking through the airport much later. It's Joseph. And
this is in what, the 60s?
This is the 80s.
80s,
yeah.
Okay.
So he runs into this dude, and he's like, oh, it's okay. Wait, you're Japanese, aren't you? And he's like, yeah, what of it? My only daughter married a Japanese man, and now I never get to see her again. My own grandson doesn't remember his grandfather's face. That's why I'll never forgive the Japanese. And goes to get on his plane. He's like, however, I do like my Walkman though. And that's how part 2 ends, with old Joseph getting on a plane to go to Tokyo and meet his daughter and grandson.
So, until part 3.
This has been Shimi Comics reviewing JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
It was quite bizarre.
Part 2.
So hopefully in the not too distant future we can start part 3.
Yes.
I'm definitely not going to try to do that on one video though.
No.
Because there's 10 volumes of that.
Yeah.
This one was only 4 and you saw how long that was.
Yeah.
So we hope you guys enjoyed. Let us know what you think about part 2 if you've read it, if you've watched it. If we got you to read it or watch it. I never in a million years thought I would be reading JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. But here I am, I like it.
You're welcome.
It's a good story. It's ridiculous.
It's super ridiculous. It's super fun. The story is good.
And there's plenty of action.
Yeah.
And you can read one of these volumes in an hour.
Yeah.
Or maybe a little more.
Yeah, the bigger ones.
Super quick.
Yeah, they do read quick.
But really enjoyable, and lately I'm kind of on a manga kick. I've been reading a lot more manga lately.
You don't even know, guys. When we get to the next cast, this dude's reading pile could reach the freaking ceiling.
It might.
Yeah. He's got more to read.
I've got a few more days until the month ends, so... But yeah, until next time, I'm Riley.
I'm Wyatt.
And this is our Bizarre Adventure.
Atafu!